Hi guys, Francis Gray here and welcome back to Joker Laugh, and today we're going to crack on with the Moebius Models Grim Reaper kit part 2. Okay guys, so this is part 2. So if you haven't seen part 1 yet, basically that was taking the kit from its styrene form and then basically building up to roughly what you see now. There's also a little bit of talking about the wooden base and adding the felt and screwing the base, the styrene base to the wooden base and stuff. So if you're interested in that, there'll be a link in the description below. But if you've already seen it or you're not right bothered about that part of the build, then welcome to part 2. Basically in this we're going to be cracking on with building the base up, adding some adding these gravestones, adding some more gravestones. I've got a few ideas on how to make a few extra pieces of that, and we'll be adding a backdrop as well. So for the first part, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some screw holes in the base, and I'll describe why I'm doing that later. Okay guys, so the reason why I went ahead and I added a lot of screw holes, I'll give you a close-up better view of that, is basically we need to start cracking on with adding what you call bulk, which is basically adding more scenery. So I'm going to be using air dry modelling clay for that, because obviously it's a cheaper clay and I'm not going in for high definition details. It's basically just to bulk stuff up. So yeah, so if I went to just put air dry modelling clay on a flat surface, say, air dry modelling clay has a tendency to slightly shrink and sometimes warp and crack. So with it being on a flat surface, it would obviously dry flat and is more likely to come away at a later date or to easily snap off. So the best way to strengthen it is to get a load of little screws and then go ahead and add the screws. In a similar fashion. So because I want this to basically level up to here, then I know to add them lower down. But say if I was building a snow scene or well, any scene really, leading uphill or leading up to something, then I know to add some bigger screws. Now the thing to remind you on with this is to be careful not to accidentally screw all the way down, because you don't want to knack the felt underneath. So always be aware how long of a screw are you drilling down into there. So yes, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish off adding screws to this piece. I'm going to do this now because soon I'm going to be wanting to add a backdrop. Now I don't want to add the backdrop now and then accidentally be screwing it screw in and then slip and then scratch the picture on the back. So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the screws now and then we'll concentrate on the backdrop. Okay guys, so there you can see that all the screws are now in place. I suppose best to do a test check underneath to make sure none of them have come through the other end. So got lucky on that one. Okay, so for the next stage, I'm going to go in with some metal wire and basically just wrap it in and amongst all the screws, a little bit like a spider's web, I suppose. That just adds that little bit more stability to the clay. Okay guys, so you can see there, that's connecting it all together, and that'll really give the clay something to hold on to. So now that we've got this ready for adding the modelling clay, we are not going to add the modelling clay. Please bear with me. Basically the reason why is we need to add an image backdrop to the back of the base, and it's a lot easier to add now while it's a clean 90-degree cut, and also once the image is on there, then I know where I can model up to. If it was the other way around, if I went ahead and added the base first, the modelling clay, good luck trying to cut an image exactly the same, because it's not going to be even no more. So basically it just makes more sense, and it makes it a lot easier to add the backdrop now. So I wanted to continue on with the same theme, symmetry in winter. I didn't want anything too flash, I didn't want to distract from the foreground, I didn't want to distract from the reaper and the tree and the gravestones. I just wanted to continue on the theme, maybe some trees off in the distance maybe. So I spent many an hour looking through the internet on Google searches, etc., to see if I could find a generic image of a graveyard in winter. There was loads of images, but just nothing seemed to work. Everything was a bit like shot too high up looking down, or too down looking up, and there was nothing really that just flowed with what we're building here. So I eventually did find a good image. So a huge thank you to my friend Derek, who went ahead and printed off 3 images for us. So the first one he printed was this, which was basically just printed on normal paper. Now that would work okay, but I don't know if the camera's going to be picking this up, but you can see different layers of where it's been printed. It stands out a little bit too much up close. So he went ahead and then printed this off, which is actually printed on fabric. Now this is perfect for the texture and the tone. It's like a canvas, but the only problem is he couldn't get the right ratio. So yes, I can cut it and I can add it to the top of here, that's fine, but that's quite a big chunk of modelling to make, especially when you've got a huge tree here. So unfortunately this is slightly too big. And then he printed me this off on gloss paper. Now this seems to be perfect. So it's a nice reflective surface. Really high definition in the image itself. It's a nice contrast between the dark gravestones and then the medium grey trees in the background with the bright whites of the snow at the front, and it's not a huge amount to model up to, so I can make a model more or less flat, but then it will look like the snow continued off into the background. So this is the image that I think we're going to be using. So I need to go ahead and trim around the sides and then try and do a little bit of a test fit to get it to, well, to get it to fit. Okay guys, so I went ahead and I trimmed the edges off. So as you can see there, it's still slightly too big. So I need to take off a little bit off the top and a little bit off the side. So I don't want to accidentally cut too much off. So what I'm going to do is this scrap piece of paper one, I'm going to use this as a reference to get the right dimension and then overlap that on this picture, and then I know exactly where to cut. Okay, so in theory this should be exactly the right size. Okay, yes, seems to be correct. Tiny millimetre off here, so I know to correct that when I go to do the other one. But for the most part, yeah, that's bang on. So I'll go ahead and overlap this over here and then cut this out. Okay guys, so this is the nervous bit now. So we need to see if this fits. And yes, I'm glad to say it does. So yeah, so for the next part we will be sticking this down. Okay guys, so now that we've gone ahead and we have the right dimensions for the picture, we need to apply it. You could do this with PVA glue. I would suggest maybe diluting it with a little bit of water, but it can get a bit messy and I haven't had great results in the past. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a regular glue Pritt stick, glue as much of the wood as I can, put the image down, and then I'm going to use the blank offcut bit to put over the nice image, and then I'm going to put a few heavy items on top to help weigh it down, and I'm going to leave that for a good 24 hours. Hi guys, so as you can see there, the background turned out really nice. Unfortunately there is a little tiny bit of a stainage here, so I don't know if a bit of glue got on there or what, I don't know. I have tried getting a bit of moisture and rubbing it off, but unfortunately the photo paper seems to react badly to it, so I've decided to just leave it as is for now, and then obviously when I model up to it, I might conveniently put something in front of it there. So yeah, so soon we'll be adding the air dryer modelling clay, but before I go ahead and do that, I wanted to try and make some more tombstones. So I've got a couple of ideas, but for the most part, yeah, I think we need more than just two. Okay guys, so for another idea, recently I acquired one of these from a charity store. This was actually free. Some of the stores in my local area have a box outside the shop, and they put just random stuff in, and then obviously everything in this box is free. Just stuff that they don't really feel like they're going to sell, or they're going to get much money for, or maybe they're just overflowing in stock and they just want to get things gone. So luckily, not so long ago, this guy was in one of the free boxes. So it's made by a company called Nemesis now, and I believe it's in like incense burner. So the little hole there, and you put the rod in, and then you set fire to you light one end, and then obviously it releases the supposed nice smells. I'm not a huge fan myself. But anyway, getting back on topic, I really like this back part here with the skeleton emerging. I'm not going to use this in the Reaper diorama because I don't want to distract from the Reaper himself. I want him to be the focal point. So this guy I'm going to use at a later date for something else, but I am interested in the gravestone at the back there. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and hacksaw this guy off and then remove this off the bottom of the base, and then hopefully we can use it in the diorama. Right, so as you can see there guys, it's come off quite nicely. I need to grind these parts off, but for the most part I think we've got a usable gravestone. Okay guys, so as you can see there, that's turned out pretty nice, but I'm not a huge fan of like the lettering, because it just says RIP and then it just says res, and obviously the skeleton was here, so yeah, so we need to fill in some of this detail. So I was thinking of more names, more Easter egg names, and according to the instructions, the art director was Mr. Bob Plant, so I thought that was a cool name to add. So yeah, so same again, Aves epoxy modelling clay, and then I'll use the R and the P. I had some trouble finding the I, so I'm just going to use this to make the I, and then I'm going to etch in Bob Plant. I don't want all lettering to be exactly the same, so I'm going to etch in Bob Plant. And then same again, I'm going to use this date stamp thing, just to add, if it'll go in that is, to add a little bit of texture detail. So yeah, so I'll crack on with that. Okay guys, so there we are, R.I.P. Bob planned and then died, and then it's just a date stamp, so it's the 11th of January, and then I've corroded the year. So same again, it's going to have snow on it, you're not really going to see that much, but it does give across the element that there is text there. So yeah, so we'll leave this to dry, and then I'm thinking about trying to make a fourth tombstone. Okay guys, so as you can see here, I've got a few random bits of just junk, I suppose. I'm thinking about trying to implement these pieces together to make a unique tombstone. So this is just to an old bit of electrical tape, I think. This is just a normal regular tube. This was originally a figurehead which was on the front of a toy pirate ship, which was, I believe, the Black Pearl from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. So yes, this was just basically the figurehead. It's been snapped off, so instead of throwing it away, I decided it would probably come in useful for a build, much like what we're doing now. And then we have this piece. God knows what this was too. But this tube seems to fit in it perfectly. So the idea is, I'm thinking about making this the base. That fits inside there. This then sits in there. Then this will get cropped, and then somehow we'll fashion the angel on top or just to the front. So I'm not too sure yet. So, but we got the main pieces there. So I suppose let's get building. Okay guys, so that's nice and cut now. So it does have a bit of a slant to it, but that's okay because the slanted side is what will go in here. So this will keep it nice and straight, so that's a nice straight edge. So yeah, so there's no point sanding this smooth when it can just be hidden. Okay, so for the next part we need to figure out how to get this to go into here. Okay guys, so it seems that these side struts here is what's causing the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and try and cut these off or grind them down, one of the two. There we go, guys. So that fits nice and snug now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add some super glue to the inside of this. Okay, so we'll leave that to dry and then we'll work a bit more around it. Okay guys, so I've gone through my plastic bit box and I have a few other bits and pieces that I've put together. I'm not going to use all of this. This is just stuff that stood out to me that I might be able to use. So the first thing that I found was this. I'm not right too sure where it's from. I believe I got it from like a doll's house or part of a doll's house or something, I can't remember. But I was thinking maybe somehow incorporating this around here. And then where it meets up at the back, conveniently there'll be a bit of a snow accumulated there. So no promises on that because I don't know how this will bend round. It might break, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I have that. I've also got this. Not right too sure what it was to, but I think that could go over there maybe, and then obviously be cut down, so it's like a next piece of marble, I suppose. Same with this. That might be able to go over there or on top of there. This seems to fit in there, but I'm not too fan of that protruding out because I just want it to go up. So, but maybe I can use this part in there somehow. Also another little part that might fit in. Got just some random plastic rings that might go over there. And then obviously I've got this rod that I'm thinking about drilling a hole at the bottom of here and then inserting that up into the middle, and then that'll fit in place up there. So yeah, so I'll try and do this now and then show you the finished results. Okay guys, so yeah, I've gone ahead and I've carefully drilled a hole at the back end there. Please be careful when using a drill. Obviously this is a unique build for me, and you mightn't have these parts available, so you'd have to do something different. But yeah, please always be careful when using a drill. So yeah, so as you can see there, that fits nice and proper now. So I'll go ahead and I'll glue this in place, and then once dry we can probably use a bit of Aves epoxy to make this back part a little bit nicer. Okay guys, so while we're still waiting for the angel to dry, I went ahead and I cut that bottle in two parts. And I also took the inside of that lid as well. So the idea is, I was thinking about that over there, then this over the top. It's a bit of a squeeze. And then that'll be like that. And then, sorry, I'm missing a part. And then this part here is going to get a bit of a wider hole drilled in, then that will sit into the top there, and then that angel will then fit into place. Obviously it's not going to be this tall. I'm going to cut the bottom off once measured up. So in theory the parts are there. I just need to start gluing it all in place. Okay guys, so I went ahead and I added some super glue on the outside. Hopefully that'll take, and then once that's dry I might try and secure it from the inside. Okay guys, so while we're waiting for this to dry, I thought I'd crack on with this bit. Now I went ahead and I drilled a hole which is a little tiny bit bigger than the diameter of this pipe. So the idea is this fits in there quite nice, and I was also going to use this as a template to drop it in. Now you might have noticed I've gone ahead and I've cut off the excess end of this. I went ahead and measured it from how long this is from the inside compared to that. So yeah, so really we need to be gluing that in place. So I think the best glue for that might be this Gorilla Glue, because once that dries it forms up and out, so that will fill the inside gap, or at least that's the theory. Once that's nice and glued and set, then we'll have plenty of working space to put the Aves epoxy clay later on. Okay guys, so I went ahead and I filled in this back bit with Aves epoxy. It needs a bit of a sand from a sanding block. But yeah, I did go ahead and I did record this, but unfortunately the footage corrupted for some reason. So yeah, so you didn't really miss much. I just basically filled it in with Aves, and then I just copied the same kind of flowing pattern of the dress there. So yeah, so I'll give it a quick once over with this, and then it's probably time to glue this in position. Okay guys, so before I go ahead and insert this inside and then add a bit of glue at the top, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just put a little bit of blue tack down on the inside of this tube. Basically, just for when I push this down, it has something to go into and it'll help keep it straight. Obviously this will always be in there, but that's no big deal. It's not going to go off, and it's not going to affect it in any way. Okay guys, so as you can see there, the blue tack has helped keep it in its place. So yeah, so we'll just leave that to dry now, and then I think we've got the basis of a nice tombstone. Okay guys, so as you can see there, the angel's nice and solid, all glued nice and tight. So the next part was, we were talking about this prior. This was going to be wrapped around this somehow, or I was going to try. No guarantees that this was going to work. I was thinking originally around the outside of there, but the problem with that is obviously this is going to be sunk into the base, and obviously I'm going to have snow effect, so this might get lost in the in that translation. So I'm wondering, would it be better maybe here? So yeah, so basically I'm just going to try and bend it around and then see how it looks. Okay guys, so it does go ahead and fit round. Now I don't know if glue would hold it in place though, so I've left a little bit overlapping. So the idea is, on this back part, I'll add some glue around the sides first, and then I'll drill a small tiny hole in the middle, and then I'll add maybe a screw in the back here, which will help keep it nice and taut. And then and then conveniently there'll be a bit of snow accumulated over the back. So yeah, so let's crack on with that. Okay guys, so I went ahead and I added the screw in place. I've added a little bit of super glue running around the seams, so we'll leave that to dry. Once that's dried, that'll add a nice little detailed texture that we can paint up later, and obviously with added snow effect I can accumulate tiny little bits of snow in all little nooks and crannies. So yeah, so it just adds that little bit more depth. And then conveniently this overlapped bit will have a bit of a snow drift leading up to it, or it'll be hidden out of sight that you can't really see it. So yes, so all in all I think this is coming along rather nice. Okay guys, so this is the overall layout idea that I have. I didn't want these two to be centre focused because I feel like they're a little bit too similar. And it's very rare when you go through cemetery and see like almost exactly the same size and scale and everything. Headstones is always like one that's leaning to the left, a little bit back, a little bit forward over time, and I wanted to get like an aged, decrepit look to the cemetery. So yeah, so we've got Bob Plant here at the front. We've got Jeff Yeager a little bit at the back. We've obviously got me at the front, and then we've got this new tombstone which we're making at the back. I don't know if I'm going to be adding any text to that, I don't know. Or I might make it look like there is text on it, but the snow's accumulated over it, you can't see. The tree, I decided to put this one a little bit further back because I like the way that the tree looks like it's reaching out over it a little bit, so it's interacting with it a little bit more. So yeah, so I quite like that. So yeah, all in all, I think we're ready to go. Now some people watching this, they might think, well, there's not a huge amount of space between the headstones because obviously you'd need to have someone buried. But I kind of like that it is a little bit closer together because obviously we don't know the size of the Grim Reaper. So as far as we know, he could be 10 foot tall, and it gives a little bit more of a menacing stature to him. If we think that in retrospective scale, it's like 6 foot is the average size of a person. So 6 foot, 6 foot. So that makes him about about 10 or 11 feet tall. So it gives a bit more of a dominating look, I suppose. So yeah, so that's the general idea anyway. So yeah, so what we're gonna do now is now we know what's gonna go where. Now is probably a good opportunity to start adding the air dryer modelling clay. Okay guys, so now that we're getting ready to add the clay, obviously I want to keep all the main parts near me so I can make new indentation impressions, because they're not going to be using these ones now. The only two that we will be using is the Grim Reaper and the tree. So we want to protect this. So the best way to do that is with regular cling film. So just make sure that your partner or your wife doesn't know that you've took it, because obviously safety first. Okay guys, so as you see there, we've given it a general once all around bulk layer. This is not going to be the top layer, this is just going to be to add the bulk from underneath. So I haven't gone ahead and I haven't made the sides all nice and flush, as you can see there. The reason is because air dry modelling clay tends to shrink and crack. So in a couple of days time, this layer here will probably be down to about here, so it'll be a couple of millimeters down. So the edging will have to be done at a later date. There's no point doing it now because you'll just be wasting your time. Also, if you leave it all bumpy and wavy, then when you add the next layer up to it, probably with Aves epoxy or maybe wood filler, something like that, it'll give the new clay something to hold on to. So the next part is we want to do the same for the top. We want to make some patterns for the next layer of clay or the next layer of filler to hold on to. So the best way to do that is literally just to score some zigzag patterns and then just go from side to side and then leave that to dry. Once that's dried, you'll have something for the clay to hold on to. So I'll crack on and do this now, and then I will get back to you. Okay guys, so now that we've got our zigzag pattern for the clay to hold on to later on, now is a good point to start putting everything in its place to add, I suppose, connection points. Okay, so we'll leave that probably 24 hours to dry out, and then we'll get back to you. Hi guys, so I went ahead and I left the modelling clay to harden over 24 hours. Unfortunately, there's a few little spots that are still look a little bit on the soft side. It might be because the weather over here is pretty damp and pretty miserable, and yeah, the climate's a little bit on the cold side, so it might have slowed things down a little bit. So yeah, so for the most part, the sides and the surface layer on some parts of the top is now dry, but I want to go ahead and I want to leave it another 24 hours just to give it more time to properly harden. So seeing as we're going to have to leave it a little bit longer, it's probably a good idea to take everything back off, and then that'll give the areas that air can get to, like the connection points to all these, it'll give that time to harden as well, which will make for a more secure connection later on. So yeah, so I'll go ahead and I'll remove all this, and then we'll leave it another 24 hours. Okay guys, so while we're waiting for the air dry and modelling clay to dry, it's probably a good idea to do just a tiny bit more detail on this tombstone. So I've gone ahead and I've mixed a bit of, well, a tiny bit of Aves epoxy. Basically all I'm going to do is flatten it out to make a thin layer, and then I'm going to put it over the front here. I'm going to push it in place. Now I want to try and make this into a bit of a rectangle shape. Okay, so for the next part, I've got these like little dot bead things. You can usually get them in arts and crafts stores. I'm going to take off 4 and I'm going to put one in each corner, basically looking like a bit of a connection piece, connecting it to the main thing itself. Okay guys, so now that we've got our basic nameplate or template in place, if I'm truthfully honest, I don't think there's going to be much space to add anybody's name or any particular features. So I'm just going to put across a couple of indentations to make it look like there is something there, but same again, conveniently there'll be snow. Hi guys, so I went in and I etched in some simple lettering. It's basically just a simple RIP, and then I just used the date stamp and I just went over it a few times. So you can't read what it actually says, but it does give across the idea that there is lettering there. But same again, snow effect will conveniently disguise it. So yeah, so this is, I'd say this was probably ready for Grey Prime. Okay guys, so we left it another 24 hours and the clay still seems to be holding a bit of moisture. So it's unfortunately it's just that that time of the year when there's a lot of moisture in the air and everything's just wet and miserable. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit longer to do that, but I could dry it out with a heat dryer or a hair dryer, a heat gun, sorry. But the problem with that is the excess heat might damage the back picture. It's either the heat will get trapped in with the clean film, or just the natural heat itself might bubble it up or something, or warp it. So I don't really want to try that. I just want to try and let this dry naturally. But unfortunately, with it being like wet, horrible weather, it's taken a lot longer. So, but in the meantime, what I can do is I can try and go in and fill out some of these seams, because these have hardened. Try and fill some of these out. So the best way to try and fill those out is with regular polyfiller. So you just basically take the top off, it's ready mixed. You just put your sculpting tool in, get a bit of it out, and then put it in place. So it'll take a long time to do, but it should make it look a little bit better. Hi guys, so the air dry modelling clay is dried as best it can. Now there is quite a bit of shrinkage going on. There's a big crack back here. I'll show you that better. There's a big crack here, but that's where the main round tombstone is going to go, so that's not a huge problem. And there's a little bit of shrinkage from the back here, so we will have to go over this. So now that we've got our main indentations and we know where everything's going to go, all these zigzag parts that are just going to be visible, I can just skate over that with a little bit more polyfiller. So I'll do that now, and then we'll leave that to dry, and then we'll attack it with a sanding block. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll leave that to dry. Okay guys, so now that the polyfiller's hardened, now is a good opportunity to go in with a sanding block. Now the thing to remember is I don't want to get too close to the back end because I don't want to accidentally scratch any of the picture. So it's going to basically be around the sides and then a light covering over the top. Okay guys, so as you can see there, the snow's starting to take shape now. So this video is getting a little bit on the long side, so I'm thinking about calling it a wrap for this one. So yeah, so please come back for part 3, which I'll start filming as soon as possible. And in part 3, we'll be adding a little bit more snow build up. We'll be painting all the gravestones, we'll be painting the Grim Reaper, be painting the tree. I'll be adding some snow effect where snow's gathered on top of all the little nooks and crannies, etc. So yeah, so please come back for part 3. If you look in the description bar below, there might be a link to part 3. If there isn't, if it just says coming soon, then obviously I'm still filming it. But if you like this build so far, smash that like button and share on Facebook and Twitter because it helps new people find my channel, which I'm always appreciative of. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next part of this or any other future model builds that I create. And yeah, if you've got any comments, comment in the section below, and yeah, let me know what you think. So once again, thank you for watching. I'm Francis Gray, this is Joker Laugh, and see you next time. Thank you very much, and goodbye.